You've probably heard of such classics as the 1x1, 2x2, and 3x3. But exactly how high up do these cubes go? So as you can probably tell, today's video is going to be about higher order puzzles. Now, what is a higher order puzzle? Well, if you take your standard Rubik's Cube, this is just the original Rubik's Cube, that's kind of like your baseline for all puzzles, let me say. And this is where it all started. Now, the Pyraminx technically was out before the Rubik's Cube, but the Rubik's Cube was the first twisty puzzle that actually got really popular, and it inspired everything that we have today. So what a lot of people don't know is that it doesn't just stop at the 3x3. Now there is a 2x2 and a 1x1, as you saw earlier in the video, and not too many people know about those. But what people really are ignorant about is the higher order puzzles. So the first one is the 4x4, and this is actually the Moyu Aosu, so it has a different color scheme than all the other cubes, just so you know, so it may look a little out of place. But anyways, it's called a Rubik's Revenge. That's kind of its nickname because it's like, oh, well, here, you can solve this guy. We'll try to solve the 4x4 now. And it looks pretty intimidating, especially to non-cubers. But in actuality, solving higher order puzzles is rather simple. But let's just talk about this one first. So, just so quick propaganda, the Moyu Aosu is a really great cube. So if you're into 4x4, best one on the market, hands down. But anyways, so the 4x4 cube, there's something special about this, and it's not the fact that it's bigger. It has an even number of layers, so it's a 4x4x4, right? And 4 is an even number, whereas 3 is odd. Well, why is that important? Well, when you have even layered cubes, for example, here's a 6x6, that's another even layered cube, then you run into something called parity, and parity is this horrible, very annoying thing that you will run into when you're solving. So let me set up a parity case really quick. Alright, so I just set up this parity case, and this is what happens. Well, as you can see, the entire cube is solved, except these two edges are flipped. Now, obviously that can't happen on the Rubik's Cube unless you take out a piece and flip it around, then it would just be impossible. But the thing with parity is they take very long and arduous algorithms to solve. So you probably won't be able to see the whole thing, plus I'm at kind of an awkward angle here, so I'll do my best. And that's what solves the cube. Well, as you can see, it's pretty annoying, but it isn't too bad on the 4x4. On the bigger cubes is where it gets really rough. Because it's the same algorithms, but there's so many more layers. So basically, you solve the 4x4 by using something called reduction. And reduction is how you solve every higher order puzzle. So here's what reduction is. So on the 3x3, you have three types of pieces: a center piece, an edge piece, and a corner piece, right? And it's the same sort of thing on a 4x4 or any other higher order puzzle, but there's just more of them. So there's the same amount of corners. There's always 4 corners, right? Because it's a cube. But there are more edges and more centers. So what does that mean? Well, to solve the cube, what you need to do is reduce it to a 3x3, hence reduction. So these 4 centerpieces act as this. So this is equivalent to these, if you can see. See how it makes up the center? And this edge piece is the equivalent of these. So what that means is after you pair all the centers and all the edges, you'll have a 3x3 because you have 1 centerpiece and 4 edge pieces. But of course, in able to reduce it, you have to pair the centers and then the edges. And that's what makes it harder to solve. Well, a little harder, but it really just takes more time. So that's the basic concept of reduction. And now we're going to be applying it to bigger cubes. So we talked about the Rubik's Revenge. Now this is a 5x5, a little bit more intimidating. It's called the Professor Cube. I don't know why, it's just all 5 layered cubes are labeled Professor. So it's the same basic method. You have, instead of 4, now you have 9 centerpieces, and you have 3 edges, and of course, your 4 corners. And all you have to do is pair up these centers, pair up these edges, and these corners, of course, just act as corners, so you don't have to do anything to them. But what's really different about the 5x5 from the 4x4? Well, here's the thing. The 5x5 is the first cube where you have to really think about the centers and the edges. Like, it's pretty easy to do on a 4x4 once you know what you're doing, but if you move up to a 5x5, even though there's no parity, which is, hallelujah, is awesome, right? But that extra third edge and those extra centerpieces, it makes for a more challenging solve. And kind of a general rule of thumb, if you can solve these 3, you can solve any of the higher order puzzles because you'll know parity, you'll know the more advanced techniques for your centers and edges, and from there it's just a piece of cake. So for now, since this video is running a little long, I'm just going to run quicker. So Professor Cube, pretty crucial to learn, fun to solve. Again, it teaches you the advanced center and edge pairing. So now I'm just going to pull out these 2. This is the same sort of thing as 6x6, 7x7. So 6x6, just like a 4x4, has parity. It has 16 centerpieces and 4 edge pieces. And 7x7, no parity, but it has more centers and more edges. And finally, these 2 monsters, the 8x8 and the 9x9. Same sort of deal. They're just bigger, so they take much longer to solve. But it's the exact same concept, it's just reduction. Now, if you still don't understand reduction, don't worry, I'm going to be posting a tutorial on it. I'll probably do 4x4 and 5x5. So, be looking out for those. So I'm not going to go too in-depth in this video, this is more conceptual. So the 9x9 is the biggest puzzle I have, but they actually have a Shengshou, which all these are Shengshou except for my 4x4, which is by Moyu. But they have a Shengshou 10x10. And they have a Yushin 11x11, and Moyu, you can pre-order the 13x13, and they're going to be releasing a 15x15, and the world record cube is a 17x17. Now you're probably thinking, wait a minute, hold on, there is no way there's a 17x17 Rubik's Cube. Well, to an extent that's true because it's not mass-produced. So there's no way you're ever going to get your hands on it unless you pay a really big sum of money. So in your daily life, no, a 17x17 does not exist. However, in actuality, Oscar Van Deventer created one out of a 3D printer. So no, there's no way you're going to get your hands on it. You don't have to worry about it at all. However, it does exist. Now comes the question, well, wait a minute. If these puzzles just keep on getting bigger and bigger, then how big are they going to get? Well, the thing is, you might notice it goes, 1x1 through 11x11, right? And then it skips 12x12, 14x14, and 16x16, and it only goes through the odd layer puzzles. And that's because even layer puzzles have different mechanisms that are much more difficult to mass produce. So how high do I think they'll go? I honestly don't know. The Moyu 15x15, that's going to be huge, and I don't know how big the demand's going to be. Personally, the biggest I will ever buy is an 11x11, and that's provided Shengshou comes out with a cubic one, not a pillowed one, that is really good quality. And that's the highest I will ever buy because I would never sit down to solve a cube that's bigger than that, especially with parity, those even number cubes. But yeah, how high do I think they should go? I think they should have stopped at 11x11, but they just keep on going up. So anyways, that's pretty much it for this video. I'm going to be posting some tutorials on how to solve these cubes. Probably not the bigger ones, but because there's really no point to doing that. But anyways, yeah, if you have any questions or comments, just leave it in the comment section below. That's what it's for. And my question for you to answer in the comment section is, what is the biggest cube that you would solve and or buy? So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. This is Artie the Cuber. Be sure to subscribe.